Greetings! My name is Turadin and... wait, hang on, I need to get into character. My most humble salutationings to thee. My name is Turadel, and today we shall be speaking of the most noble and humble of all the free people of the mortal realms, the elves. So sit down and watch as I regale thee with tales of our glorious history. Fill it with many a story of heroism and noble self-sacrifice. And there is nary a single more fortuitous place I can think of to start than... Yeah, I'm not gonna keep doing the voice. Okay, so imagine yourself this for a moment. You're just some regular guy or girl or neither, whatever you're more comfortable with, living in some small sleepy fishing village in the mortal realms. One morning, you're just sitting on the pier with your best mate Alfred, catching the occasional tuna while bantering and having a grand old time. Then suddenly, like 15 horse-sized eels emerge from the water, accompanied by a mob of eyeless pale people and a massive turtle who stab you and steal your soul. This is about your average Idoneth meet and greet, but let's take a step back real quick. So way back when the old world got better to mush, Slaanesh ended up basically eating every elven soul in existence, which didn't particularly endear them to the surviving elven gods, who took advantage of Slaanesh's groggy state to lure them to the dimensional equivalent of a dark parking lot, kick the snot out of them, and have them spit all those souls back out. The elven god Teclis then used these to create new elves, with his first creation being the Idoneth, who were relatively stable, except for the fact that about 99% of them were born with incomplete souls, which left a big chunk of them as Namarti, blind husks who lived short and miserable lives. Teclis tried to immediately control Zeth's creations, but with a bit of help from Uncle Tyrion, they managed to escape to the ocean depths, where they set up shop as the new underwater head honchos. As it turns out, even a Reaper Leviathan can only do so much against the liberal use of power word disintegrate. Nowadays, the Idoneth are rarely seen, but far from inactive. They can usually get by just fine in their underwater enclaves, but do occasionally pop up to the surface to resupply on soul juice. This tends to be through a way of raiding coastal settlements, but they're not particularly cruel or kill crazy, so depending on what enclave you're dealing with, they might leave children and a good chunk of the population intact. This has obviously made their alliance with the forces of order a bit awkward, but they're just as likely to smack around chaos or greenskins, so they largely let it slide. They also have this interesting thing known as the Eversea, which is this weird magical phenomenon that allows them to bring a little bit of home with them wherever they go. Unfortunately for literally every other faction, their home is about 1,000 meters below sea level, so this manifests in the ability to allow their aquatic mounts to move through thin air, cause their enemies to drown on dry land, or get crushed by hydrostatic pressure. Home sweet home, right? Their biggest enclaves include Nautalar, a city-state built on the back of a giant sea creature which just goes incredibly hard. Ionrach, for if you want to at least try to be sort of nice sometimes. And Domhain, for if you got that dog in ya. Favorite model, Lotan the Squidman. And if you disagree, well, let's just say those are some pretty bold words for someone in squid shanking range.
It's all about you. It's all about me. You're fabulous. I'm fabulous.
So, after the mixed results of the Idoneth, Teclis and his brother Tyrion gave elf creation another go and actually did things a bit better this time with the Lumineth, who were pure, stable, and about everything that they dreamed an elf to be. That is to say, ridiculously arrogant. And when I say arrogant, I mean that they were so lost in their own sauce that they made several magic doomsday weapons just to prove that they could, not even bothering to hide them away safely, but instead just using them as fancy art deco or glowy paperweights. To no one's surprise, they almost blew themselves to smithereens during the Age of Chaos, but they actually learned from their almost apocalypse, and with the aid of Teclis and the moon spirit Selenar, they now seek to better themselves through strict codes of self-discipline and spirituality, with some being so in tune with the world around them that they can actually call upon the spirits of the realms itself, summoning forth the living manifestation of mountains or the winds to aid them in battle. Though while they went through a lot of soul searching, their egos are still as present and pointy as their hats. Albeit now less in a "haha, nothing bad could ever happen to one as beautiful as I" way, and more in a "oh, you adorable dumb little human, let the grown-ups handle this while you play with your toys, hehe" kind of way. With the frustrating part being that they're usually right, even if their methods tend to make Scorched Earth look awfully passé. Another fun factoid is that they're all completely addicted to a hip new designer drug known as Ether Quartz, a concentrated piece of Hayish's magic that boosts their reflex and senses up to 11 at the cost of slowly dulling their emotions and humanity. But unlike the Stormcast, who get all deep and existential about becoming unfeeling automatons the more they reforge, the Lumineth actually think this is pretty cool and based. And before you ask, yes, Lumineth players love it if you make crack addict jokes at them. Their biggest nations include Siar, for if you want to make the US weapon industry look like a joke, Zytrek, for if you want to be the most wizardy wizard that ever wizarded, and Iliafa, for if matriarchal cloning shenanigans sounds like a chill Saturday afternoon. Favorite model? The Skinari Kataler. I let Lucia pick this one. So in today's episode of The Grand Alliance Order Aren't the Good Guys, we have the Daughters of KHAINE, where the Idoneth are at least kind of forced to go on the occasional stabbing, and factions like the Lumineth or even the Seraphon are so focused on dealing with threats like chaos that they have a tendency towards collateral damage. The Daughters of KHAINE are a matriarchal faction of girl boss murderers who worship the elven god of murder and do about what you'd expect in the name of said worship. They are led by Morathi, the High Priestess of KHAINE, who a lot of people are really thirsty for, and who sends the faithful of KHAINE all across the mortal realms in order to expand their influence or just to stab people for the giggles. Sometimes both. Except, psych, none of that is true. Okay, well, they do stab people, but they're actually being played for a fool by Morathi. KHAINE is actually long dead. Everything the cult does is puppeteered by her, and she secretly siphons all the juicy worship for herself. Now, you might think that tricking a cult that worships murder isn't the brightest idea, but she recently managed to ascend to godhood as Morathi KHAINE, so she clearly knows what she's doing. They also have monster girls. Kind of. So basically what ended up happening is that when the elven gods were taking turns giving Slaanesh a fair kicking, Morathi also wanted a few souls for herself. Now, nobody really liked her, and she wasn't even a god at the time, but she did help them out with this particular issue, so they agreed. Though, as a final middle finger, they basically only gave her the souls that had been left to marinate in chaos juice the longest, or who were on the verge of falling apart. As a result, the elves she created with said souls are a bit more changed than most, but it's nothing a bit of blood magic can't fix, and at least they're incredibly loyal to her, so she kind of made it work. As for their sub-factions, they're divided into sects, basically religious movements that focus on specific aspects of their faith, with some of the major ones being the Zaintarkai, for if you're really into the aforementioned monster girls, Kailebron, for if you want to be real sneaky beaky like, and the Grave, for if the murder cult of killers who dye their hair with blood wasn't quite enthusiastic enough for your liking. Favorite model? The Melusai Blood Sisters, because I'm just a massive sucker for cool spooky masks.
The trees can't be harmed if the Lorexes are.
Hey you. Yeah, you. Do you like trees? Do you sometimes go to the park and just get really angry when people walk all over the grass? Are you a radical ecological terrorist? Well then, the Sylvaneth are for you. The Sylvaneth are the ancient fae protectors of the realms, spirits of nature that dwell in the deepest, darkest forests and who follow Alariel, the elven goddess of life, whose spirit song connects them no matter where they go. Once upon a time, they were actually pretty chill, only occasionally messing with mortals when they cut down one too many trees or venture too deep into the enchanted woods. But after the age of oopsie whoopsie and a few visits from grandfather, they came out of the whole experience a lot more bitter and a lot more down for extreme violence. Alariel's spirit song having long taken on a more warlike rhythm over its original gentle tune. These days, it's not unheard of for entire towns or groups of travelers to just go missing one day, with nothing remaining but bones and bits of flesh that are being used as nutrients for the forest's many inhabitants. As seems to be a running theme in this video, this has made diplomacy a tad difficult at times. But they usually only go against those who've messed with nature in one way or the other, and even have a special hatred for chaos, so Sigmar mostly turns the other way. The keyword being usually. Just don't cut down any trees in the mortal realms, or go into any forests. Ever. It's stuff like this why the KO prefer to stay so high up in the sky. For their subfactions, they are divided into glades, a sort of naturey family who all share specific traits or traditions, with some of their biggest ones being the Gnarlwood, for if you're a lore-obsessed nerd, the Ironbark, for if you want to be besties with the dwarves and thus incredibly based, and the Dreadwood. Just take a guess. Favorite model? The War Song Revenant, because... And that's that. If you like this video, remember to like, subscribe, give your Legolas body pillow an extra hug for me tonight, and I'll see you all in the next one, where I'll be covering the cooler Grand Alliance. Bye-bye!